Hi everybody. I'm gonna choke on myself. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. It's Q&A Wednesday. It just comes around so fast sometimes. Of course, I just did Meals with Melissa on Saturday. So hopefully you are all trying that low carb pumpkin bread. Not gonna lie, I am not making anything healthy tomorrow, like not in a healthy version. We're just gonna have the full strength thing. But of course, we eat fairly healthy on a regular basis. So I'm just going to talk a little bit tonight about, I knew when I posted that I'd either A, get somebody's attention, or B, offend somebody immediately, talking about why am I fat. But considering that most of my adult life, well, we're getting to that tipping point, but for a majority of my adult life, I actually was considered obese. I feel like I can talk about it because, it's really difficult when you really don't have the education, trying to figure out why we're getting the way that we are, and even as a nation at this point, why we are becoming obese, and of course, all these metabolic issues that are coming up with it. So we're gonna talk a little bit about why you might be there if this is something that you're struggling with. And of course, as women, we all think we're fat, right? Guys, you don't get it right. Like, it doesn't matter if we ask, do I look fat? The answer better be no, right? But there's a rhyme and a reason to this. And unfortunately, I think most of us are missing the boat on when we're talking about why we've gotten there and what we can do about it. So we're gonna talk about why you might be struggling to burn body fat. Now, for those of you that have listened to me before, you all know that I hate the term losing weight because it just doesn't give you enough information. That scale does not tell you, even if you're dropping weight, that's great, but are you burning muscle? Because that's not really what we want. Muscle's a natural fat burner. Not only that, but it gives us shape and it gives us a lot of other things besides strength and balance and core strength and all that great stuff. So when the scale's moving, it might not be telling you what it's coming from. I've been in a position multiple times in my life where I literally have to sit somebody down, my clients, and say, do you want to weigh less? Or do you want to be smaller? Because they don't always go together. There's this whole misinformation out there that, losing weight is the most important part of it. Now, granted, if you are, 300 pounds and really struggling to lose weight, that's a whole different ballgame. There's something behind that. But for most of us, it really is about losing fat and not weight. So let's talk about, how we can lose fat, why we get fat. I don't know that we look at this the right way. I think that it starts when we're young, and that we're taught how to eat. And unfortunately, in this day and age, the American diet is extremely processed, full of so much sugar. And when we're young, our bodies can handle it. We're functioning well. We burn through it a little bit differently than we do. But as we get older, the effects of that start to show, because there's some things that happen to us as we get older, what has to do with declining hormones, and just your body's inability to deal with eating processed food, junk, additives and preservatives, and all of a sudden it starts to show up on our body, and we can't figure why all of a sudden we're gaining weight and fat when actually it's been happening for a long time. Our body's just become less efficient at burning off the sugars, and our body doesn't know what to do with the insulin anymore. Our cells have kind of closed down to that. We talked a little bit about that last week. So here are the reasons why you might be struggling to burn fat, or why you might have excess fat on your body that you don't know how to get rid of. Number one, most of us have the wrong approach. It's unfortunate that, in the early 90s, a politician actually kind of decided that the low-fat diet was the way to go, that fat caused fat, and it's absolutely not true. For just a really long time, like in the early 1800s, there's actually documentation on research that shows that starchy, high sugar foods actually cause fat, because the calories are not what's important, guys. For anybody who's done a lot of like low calorie, reduced calorie diets and then struggled with it, there's a reason. Your body doesn't need to be low calorie, it just needs to be low junk. So unfortunately, most of us have this idea that we just need to eat less and move more, and that's not really true. We need to eat less crap, the processed food, because that is, if you kind of look back throughout the history and where things kind of went out of control, it's honestly when a lot of processed food and convenient food have come out, and fast food. And now as Americans, our main staple, our main diet, nobody knows how to cook. So we eat we eat out all the time. We're eating all this junk, and of course there should be a correlation there, right? I mean, even if it's just anecdotal, there's a lot of you can apply it right there. But unfortunately, we're still stuck on reduced calorie, low calorie, low fat, which makes 0 sense. And so we have the wrong approach. And most of us, to some degree, go for a diet, right? And of course that in some way is going to reduce our intake. And it doesn't really matter what kind of diet it is, right? Because we've got paleo, we've got keto, we've got all these crazy things, and not one of them produces long-term results. Because of course, remember, whatever you do to get to your goal, you have to keep doing in order to stay to your goal. And I think we forget that, especially when New Year's rolls around and we have these New Year's resolutions. So we have to find the right approach that helps us to not only burn the fat, but to not gain it back, right? And unfortunately, again, it's the wrong approach. Most of my clients don't eat enough food. When we sit down and I start working with them nutritionally, I actually up their calories, I up their macros, I teach them how to choose better foods, the cleaner foods, things that are not processed, not boxed, not shelf stable, and that makes all the difference. But it's a lot of food when it comes to volume because it's clean, right? And our body has to work much harder to break it down. So if you're struggling, you might not be taking the right approach to where you're trying to go. It really isn't about eat less, move more. Although move more is a great option. Exercise helps, but we're going to talk about in a second that you can't out-exercise a bad diet. So that can be a problem. So number 2, reasons that we are fat, because we are literally eating so much garbage, it spikes our insulin on a regular basis. And again, as kids, we kind of got away with it, at least when I was a kid. We did eat a lot of, back then it wasn't really as much processed food, but I did eat a lot of sugar and loved candy, and I totally have a sweet tooth. And of course that affected me as I got older and became an adult. It also promoted my body to twice out of 5 kids have gestational diabetes. Plus it runs in my family, so I knew that could be a huge issue. But unfortunately, because we eat so much processed food, and that processed food breaks down so quickly into sugars in our body, our insulin spikes and spikes and spikes and spikes. And insulin, although it plays a really healthy role as well, what it does is it shuttles all that excess sugar to our storage unit, which in our bodies is fat. So if we're consistently eating a low-fat, high-carbohydrate diet like it was promoted 20 plus years ago, that's the problem that we're having. So, if you look even now still at the government food pyramid, it's still not quite the right breakdown. Still way too much in the carbohydrate area. Carbohydrate, although I believe in eating complex carbs, carbohydrates are not necessary for life. I think that you should eat them. I think you should eat fruits and vegetables and things like yams and rice, but I think you should eat them in moderation. Alongside a protein to slow down the absorption rate of the sugars, and stop eating the sugar and the garbage on a regular basis, because your body treats it totally different and we don't need as much as we were conditioned to believe. Number 3, genetics. Unfortunately, there is a huge part of you that may be predispositioned to store fat. I know I'm one of them. I am what we call an endomorph, which means that I gain fat really easily. Plus, again, because of my family history, I know that type 2 diabetes runs in my family. It's unfortunate that that's part of it. So, those commercials where they're saying, it's not your fault, it's hormones, it's this. To an extent, that's kind of true. You can't really determine your personal genetics because you get what you got, right? However, environment and how you choose to live your life nutritionally makes a huge difference in that. You might be predisposed to have diabetes, but that doesn't mean that you actually have to have it. Again, I took a look at my family history and went, oh, hell no. We are not doing the type 2 diabetes. I don't want heart disease. I know these things are predominant in my family. I knew that they were something that would probably be passed down through my genes. So I choose to live in a healthier nutritional environment in order to avoid those issues. So again, just because you have that predisposition, you have those genetics, doesn't mean that you have to allow that to crop up and be part of your life. So that might be part of the issues. Number 4 is stress. Okay, you know, I know you've heard this. I know you hear those stupid commercials. Oh, just wait, guys. Of course, they're coming, right? January 1st, I can no longer watch TV without wanting to throw things at it because I hear all the gimmicks and the crap and the BS that, you know, companies are promoting, and none of it works. There is no easy pill. There's no supplement. There's no pill that reduces cortisol. You have to reduce your own cortisol. And of course, you know, your body produces these things for a reason, and some cortisol is necessary, right? That's what helps wake you up in the morning when it's time to get moving. It also helps you in a situation where you might be, you know, that fight or flight. But that doesn't happen like it did in the days of maybe our ancestors where, you know, maybe wild beasts were chasing them. However, today's stressful society, you know, we tend to produce a lot of low-grade cortisol all the time. So if we're eating and we're producing that cortisol and our body can't focus on digestion because now it thinks it's gonna, you're in some sort of danger and you need to fight or flight, again, your body actually responds to that by holding on to body fat. You know, fat is your body's survival mechanism for more than one reason. You know, it's to protect you, right? So it stores away all the toxins and the garbage that might enter our body one way or another. It helps protect us from, well, I can bring up some other things tonight, but it really is. Your body wants to survive. So that's how it does it. It also protects us, of course, from starving because you know, hundreds of years ago, there were times of famine where people didn't have food, but today, in this day and age, that's not an issue. Food is very convenient, easy to get, and we don't have to work super hard for it. So, of course, you know, now it just stores it because that's what our bodies were designed to do. So we have to somehow deal with the stress in a way that lowers those cortisol levels on a regular basis, so that we can finally you know, live a healthy life. You know, it really does play a role. You know, for those of you who have worked with me before, you know that I really believe that, you know, the physical part of being healthy is actually the easy part. I know some people might not agree, but it really is. It's the mental and emotional part that's so difficult because, you know, there's a lot of stressors that come our way. You know, just dealing with real life, and your body responds to that. You know, if you're really positive and feel powerful about your goals and where you're going, you're going to do great. Your body's going to respond much, much better than if you're stressed all the time and you are constantly tearing your own self down. Your body responds to that either way, right? Your body's a living thing, so it responds to that. Number 5, your circadian rhythm. If you don't sleep at night, right? Circadian rhythm is the 24-hour basis that our bodies are designed to work with in order to best just be alive, right? Our bodies are designed to wake with the sun, go to bed at the dark, to eat during the day, to sleep and reset during the night. But in today's day and age, because we have jobs that require, you know, people be, and I get it, like I get it that people have to work. You know, we appreciate those people, those shift workers that have jobs where they work all night, but it's unfortunate because they don't get that chance to hit that really great deep sleep on a regular basis that helps your body reset. Also, if you eat at all hours of the night, your body, again, was not designed to do that. And so that can actually cause your body to retain or even store more fat. So again, that can be a huge problem. You know, even things like growth hormone, if you're trying to build muscle, there's proteins that can actually do some damage if we aren't hitting that deep sleep and being able to reset and break those down at night. So it's very complicated, but just know that sleep is seriously important. I've had clients in the past that have really struggled to lose weight until we've solved the whole issue about making sure that they're getting enough sleep. Then all of a sudden their body starts responding in a way that it hadn't responded before. You know, I really look, hi Heather, I really look at multiple things when I'm working with people because, you know, it's kind of a formula, but everybody's so different. But I'm trying to figure out what variable is it that we need to fix in order for their body to respond in a positive way. And if, you know, if it doesn't respond to the nutrition part of it, and if it's not responding to the exercise part of it, you know, we look at stress, we look at sleep, and some mental and other emotional things to see what is it that their body is doing to prevent them from accomplishing what they're trying to. Because it does. I mean, it makes a really big difference. Let's see. And also, of course, you know, hormones can play a huge role in there. And we're not just talking about our reproductive hormones. We're talking about all of our hormones because hormones run your entire body. If they're not working correctly, which can happen for multiple reasons. Again, topic for a whole nother time. But you can struggle to get where you want to go just because your body's not working efficiently at what you're trying to accomplish. So number 6 I want to talk about tonight is counting on supplements or exercise to be able to burn that fat. If you're just changing one thing, you might be adding exercise, which is great. Don't get me wrong. Anytime that you make some healthier changes, your body will respond in a positive way. But if you're only, like when I started and I was still, 200 pounds and I was going to the gym and doing 30 minutes of cardio and my body wasn't changing and I couldn't figure out what was going on. Well, I hadn't changed my nutrition whatsoever. I just expected that, exercising was going to do it for me. But again, I just didn't have the education. So if you're just counting on one of these stupid supplements you're going to see on TV here in January, or the waist trainer to suck it all in, but you're still going to eat the way that you were eating, you can't count on any one thing. There is no shortcut. You have to change your lifestyle for the better. Now, I'm a firm believer that it's important to only change 1 or 2 things at a time. That's why I don't like New Year's resolutions, because we make these grand plans, right? I'm gonna go to the gym 5 days a week and I'm gonna eat super healthy. Yeah, we all know how that rolls out. I think the average person makes it like a week in their New Year's resolution before they realize, well, that was not the best choice. So, you can't count on any one thing to work, because if we had found that, everybody would be doing it, right? And seeing great results. So, you need to take the time to plan out what you've got to do and what's going to work for you, because it's different from everybody, or different for everybody. So my tips for tonight, right? Number 1, first of all, you have to be patient. If you're really trying to live a healthier lifestyle, if you're trying to change your shape, if you're trying to feel better, and even feel better about yourself by changing your look, like I get it, like I've been there, right? But you can't undo 2 decades worth of damage. Now, damage we're talking about, just eating garbage. Eating processed food, eating out. I think the average person that I talk to eats out 3 or 4 times a week, which I can't believe at this point. Granted, I've been there when I was a soccer mom and running kids all over town. We ate out a lot more. But again, that was before I knew what I know now. But yeah, that makes a difference. So if you're eating, 4 or 5 times a week eating out, and you do that for 20 plus years, you can't undo the damage that's done in 2 weeks or even 2 months. Your body has to get rid of all the toxins. It has to change. You have to have some physiological changes within yourself in order to feel healthy and to get where you want to go. So be patient with yourself, give it time, and focus on the efforts and not the results. I'm fascinated by how unrealistic our expectations are of, putting 2 weeks worth of effort in and expecting these massive changes. It just doesn't work that way. You really have to take the time to teach your body another healthier way, right? Start now. Start as soon as you can. It doesn't really matter the age. I get it. I get clients in their 60s and 70s, and we really have to kind of backtrack a little bit and work with their nutrition. But the earlier that you can do that, the better off you're going to be in your future, because what I did as a kid has affected me as an adult. Not just the damage to my body when it comes to soda and sugar and junk, but even the habits that I've created for myself. It's still, even now, and I've lived pretty healthy lifestyle now for about 8-9 years, I still find myself going back to old habits. There's things, comfort foods that I loved as a kid, I still love as an adult. And when I get stressed out, those are hard to resist. So the more that you can fix those situations now, just step by step, the better off you're going to be as you do get older. Type 2 diabetes, for most people, last week we talked about how that's actually starting to happen in younger and younger kids. It's an adult onset situation because, we've spent 30, 40 years eating junk. And so now our body just doesn't respond as well. Our bodies are tired. The insulin doesn't quite do what it's supposed to do. The cells don't want to let that in. And so all of a sudden then we have some serious issues brought on by dietary choices, like I said, for decades even. So hopefully that helps you to understand. If you're still unsure, if you need some specific questions answered, this is important enough to me that, I would love for you to direct message me, because sometimes it's a simple fix. It's not always easy, not gonna lie, right? Because anytime that we have to make some habit changes, that can be a really tough deal. But, I'm your biggest fan. I want you to be healthy. I do this because I figured at one point, if I could do this, never in my wildest dreams, in my late 20s, early 30s, did I ever think I was going to see abdominals, right? A six pack, not even something in my wildest dreams, right? So getting to the point where I get it and being educated, and of course I continue to educate myself. If I can do this, anybody can do this. I just want you to make some changes in your life that helps you to get where you want to go, to feel better, right? Isn't it about how you feel? I want to have a quality life. I don't know about you. I don't want to be miserable for the rest of my life. Now, granted, again, I'm gonna eat whatever I want tomorrow because it's Thanksgiving and I love it, and with my family, and it's gonna be awesome. But I'm gonna turn around Friday. I'm gonna go right back to eating healthy, and carb coma and carb hangover, that's gonna be a real thing. But then I'm gonna get back to eating healthy because I know that I can't do that day in, day out, and maintain where I wanna go and how I wanna feel. So hopefully that helps you guys. You know what? I get my best questions from you guys. So if you have a question, either leave a comment below. You can direct message me as well. And New Year's is coming up. I'm not gonna lie, I tend to get really, really, really busy. So if you want on my schedule, now would be the time to talk to me, because of course my current clients are my most important. They get priority. That's just how that rolls. And if you're thinking about shows for next spring when it comes to physique, might want to talk to me right now as well. So have an incredible evening, you guys. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Stay warm. Enjoy yourself. Hopefully you're with friends and family. If not, I really want you to know that I feel everybody's important and that I'm thinking of you. So have an incredible week, you guys, and we'll see you next week. Bye now.